And now on the line is George Jacob from Self Help Africa, and George is talking to me today on Nair FM in his capacity as the spokesperson for the Irish Emergency Alliance. George, welcome to the programme.
Morning, Darren. How are you doing?
Okay, cool. George, the launch of the Irish Emergency Alliance got a lot of media attention in Ireland this week. Can you start off by telling me, for the benefit of the people listening who have not already heard, who are the Irish Emergency Alliance and the reason as to why this alliance has been established?
Sure. Yeah. Well, the alliance are six of the country's international development aid charities. So the member agencies are Action Aid, Christian Aid, Plan International, Self Help Africa, Tier Fund, and World Vision. And the purpose of the alliance is basically we're all living in fairly unique circumstances since since coronavirus affected us back in the early spring, and all of the agencies who collectively work in over 80 countries around the globe, they're looking at the same problems and challenges unfolding in the developing world, and we all have been acutely aware of how extremely serious it could be if coronavirus were to take hold in the same way as it has in kind of wealthy and developed countries. When you see what's happening in the US or in parts of Europe, to this point, the numbers of cases of coronavirus in many of the countries, my organization, Self Help Africa, works in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, across Africa, the numbers of recorded cases are still below 2 million, which compared to the population is relatively low, but there's a few things in play there. Testing is barely existent in some countries. Mortality rates are also low. So, and people don't, there wouldn't be, if somebody dies unexpectedly, there wouldn't necessarily be a post-mortem in the way that there would here that determines the cause of death. So, some experts calculate that, the numbers that we've seen in places like Africa, it could be only kind of maybe 10-15% of the actual numbers. Nonetheless, it is a pandemic that to this point, it hasn't gone away, and our concern is it could get really an awful lot worse for some of the more vulnerable communities around the world.
I was just going to ask you about COVID in developing countries. Okay, the six organisations, George, are the six of you coordinating your work together in these countries, or is the basis of the alliance coming together in Ireland just for fundraising? Like, is it a more comprehensive alliance than fundraising, or what's the story?
It isn't an alliance on the ground in Africa now, there are around the world in an operational sense, in that actually to put that together very quickly could be complicated, because like the regions of the world that all of the different organizations work are quite different, and there's no like South Africa aren't going to up sticks and start doing work in Lebanon to respond to coronavirus, and similarly Christian Aid, who don't work in Kenya, aren't going to start working in Kenya. But what we are doing, and it is, as you identify, the focus is on, it's not just, the fundraising, it's the going out to the Irish public with a joint appeal, like kind of by working together. All of charities and development, overseas charities, like every other area of business, there's often a case that people work in kind of their own little silo. They do their own little thing. They have their own campaigns, etc., etc. Coronavirus is an opportunity where we're all looking at the problem, and we recognise that we can go out to the people in Ireland with a unified voice, saying, "This is the problem. These are the areas that we can work in," and asking collectively for support.
Am I right in saying that this alliance, it was launched this week, but it's actually been in the pipeline for a few years, and it wasn't just because of COVID that it's been launched?
Yeah, well, do you know the idea of an alliance? It predated my experience of the charitable sector in Ireland, but apparently the first discussions were about 20 years ago about the idea of putting together an alliance like this. And over the years, at different times, there have been discussions about creating an alliance of NGOs, and the purpose and the thought behind it was to be able to respond to rapid onset emergencies. So like what that means is, like if there's a typhoon or an earthquake, and 3 or 4 agencies are all working in a particular country, whether it's Syria, so that you don't have charity A putting ads in the paper and appealing on the radio for support for their work in Syria, and then charity B doing the same, that they would come together. What has crystallized the thinking, though, has been coronavirus this year. Yes, it has been talked about, and yes, the idea of the Irish Emergency Alliance specifically has been in the planning for at least 18 months, that this entity should come together, and like all of the work behind that, and kind of setting up groups that might kind of figure out what it would look like, how it would be run, how it would be managed. But coronavirus back in January, February has kind of forced it into being at this point.
It's a great idea what you have done in the 6 organisations and coming together to form an alliance. Your alliance got great publicity, I believe, in the Irish media this week. I imagine you were very happy with that, were you?
Well, that was an example, Darren, that like there is a public interest in it, and sometimes the media kind of follow the public appetite, and sometimes like the interest of the media. I suppose there is a story in that it is new. Like it's something that hasn't happened before. Whereas if South Africa or Plan International or Christian Aid were doing an appeal for coronavirus and were to send a press release into the Irish broadcasters and newspapers and everything, would it get covered? I don't know, but by working together, there's a press officer, my counterpart in Christian Aid and in World Vision and so on and so forth. We're all putting our heads together and trying to drum up interest, but there is actually interest because there is also a public appetite for an initiative like this, a sense that there's an awful lot of charities out there. Could they not work together? There's X number of charities that work in this particular health area, or work with cancer, or work with homelessness. Is there no way that it could be coordinated, and would it not be a bit more efficient? That's another thing that the public often think, and maybe it reflects that mood as well, the coverage it has got. I should say as well that there is the model for the Irish Emergency Alliance. It isn't unique in that there are similar entities. There is an organisation in the UK called DEC, which is the Disaster Emergency Committee, but all of the big overseas agencies are members of DEC, and I think there's a similar one. There is a similar one in France, and there's one in Holland, and in a few other European countries as well.
Okay. Before you go, George, do you want to tell us if there are any other big plans or projects with the Alliance planned over the next few months?
Well, kind of God willing, there won't be, because it's the whole impetus. From here on, it is intended to that the Alliance would stay in place. But right now, the focus is on the first week of coronavirus. You would hope there isn't another global crisis of the kind of magnitude of what we're looking at, or an awful earthquake or typhoon or whatever might befall people in poorer parts of the world. But if there is, that would be up to the Alliance at that stage. And I would think the reception has been really good this week from the public, both in terms of kind of fundraising and in terms of, as you say yourself, the coverage and the response and the feedback on Facebook pages, and the number of people signing up to learn more and do all of that. So the indication is that the Irish Emergency Alliance will be around for a while, but hopefully we won't be called on that often, people want to find out more or want to donate, they can visit irishemergencyalliance.org, or there's a call number which is 1-800-939-979. That's 1-800-939-979. Or they can text to donate €4. They can text IEA to 50300. That's IEA to 50300, and that will be a donation of €4.
Okay, Fiona, how mé deagháil leat le déanaí ag éirí cainte raidió fíonnuacht maidir le bunú an Irish Emergency Alliance. Os dúir é gur béis seo mo céad agalamh as cuaige le honnaí ó World Vision Ireland, bhís leat a rálum dús céhíad World Vision Ireland agus an obair a dhéanann sibh sular nintíonn tú dom fíonnuacht maidir leis an Irish Emergency Alliance?
Cínta, so tá World Vision Ireland agracht bailún airgéid le haid na daoine is bochta sa developing world. Támuid I gcónaí I múna rudí go dtí na páistí sna tíre is bochta sa domhan, agus támuid ceapmid más féidir linn ólas agus idirchas a thuirt go dtí na páistí seo is féidir linn Saola wadní fear Hortsdove agus Kamala sin dynamid alánradí le haid gender-based equality agus soca empowerment den mná fashion sna tíre seo.
Okay, an féidir at níos mór rálum faoi céhíad an cuaintas nua seo agus an baint atá ag World Vision leis?
Cínta, so is soca gúil seacht tíortha sa domhan bhfuilmuid ag éire ceart agus ag éire cabhar a Hortsdove, agus tá a lán táhacht agus buntáistí le sé agrachtaí ar fad tacht le chéile chun obair lena chéile an Irish Emergency Alliance by cuacht níos láidre lena hagrachtaí sin nó hagann siad le chéile, ní baimmuid I comórtas san áige chéile chun airgéid a bhailiú ó muinse na hÉireann, agus Kamala sin nó a hagann World Vision Ireland, Self-Help Africa, Cheer Fund, Christian Aid Ireland, Action Aid agus Plan le chéile by or go níos láidir freisin mar ba le go rá na rudí céine go dtíon rialtas na rudí céine go dtíon na daoine a bochtas sa tíre maimmuid a gobar agus tamud ag tiomsú agus ag bailú airgid le haid na muintir bocht I Afghanistan, an Democratic Republic of Congo, South Sudan, Ethiopia, Kenya agus Lebanon, agus tá rudí really uafásach na tíre seo marall an bochtanas agus marall an coronavirus.
Cé có dúchláán agus atá cuasaí inis Fiona sa tíre bochta in an éiríonn sibh leis an coronavirus agus an bochtaneacht I gcuideanna?
sé really go uafásach na tíre seo mar níl dom an airgid acu le haid PPE, le haid láis agus le haid na hospidéil agus cilíonn sé sin má féin na éigent teen marialar an coronavirus sna tíortha seo ba rudí an cínradómh agus ba a sláinte a bhhad níos measa marialar an coronavirus. Agus is tógadh go bhfuil níos mó ná 70 milliún daoine éist áirithe sna tíortha seo. Agus tá sé beagnach do daonnta do na daoine sna campi nó Islami clachta a dhéanamh fadú fisteach cé go mbíonn sé níos dacra cosc a chur scapa an coronavirus. Marialar is tógtha aspa galúnach agus aspa isca agus aspa airgid chun láis agus chun PPE a cheanú.
An bhfuil sibh in World Vision agus na cúig agartí eile ag obair as lámh a chéile sa tíortha bochtanis nó bhfuil an cuaintas nua le haid teachtar tiomsathe airgead nó a héad?
Na gáradí soca so baimid ag gobar lena chéile na tíir seo agus clíonn sé sin má támuid ag gira influence dhéanamh ar an rialtas na tíortha agus gira soca negotiations dhéanamh bain ar goth níos láidir aonmh sin lena chéile. Agus comáile sin nóir támuid ag scapaí rudí cosúla PPE agus cosúla lais agus cosúla bain na dobaltation dhéanamh bhhad níos tapí nó obair le chéile. Agus is soca gohfuil si sinna an príomhre deúna a gira rá faoi an comhaontas seo. Bain muid ábalta rudí dhéanamh níos fearr, níos tapaí agus le haid níos lú airgid nóir bain muid ag obair lena chéile. Agus is soca mas maimíonn tú ar an méid tám sa lá a caihamid goláin ar láha agus a goláin chulaid sa timpplan tacht. Ní bain muid ábalta is seo dhéanamh muna bhfuil ní muna rá isce nó go lúnach a gcuin. Agus tá sé bhhad níos dachar chun a fáin sláán agus chun a fáin saráilta muna bhfuil lais i de tailech muna bhfuil sanitizer agus isce agat agus más is tucha mátá lándaoine sa tacht céine nó mátá lándaoine sa camp céine. Tá lándaoine go háirithe na slumí agus sa campa bhfuil sa developing world tá suas gotí fiche nó trochadaoine orintanta sna tent céine. Agus tá sé an dachar rudí cosúla social distancing agus fan amach go daoine eile a chleachta nuair tá na méid sin daoine i tailech amháin.
Agus is just míle bhéid ar nó as cuainte seo teach le chéile, just cúpla ceiste eile gom eile Fiona. Cé go bhfuil an cuainte seo éis go bhfuil an seola an teachan seo. Bhí an planáil ag dul isteach chun an cuainte sa teach le chéile ag tarlú ar fá bliain ar gáil nach raibh tá sé ag tarlú inis i ggóthas COVID-19 ach bhí an planáil don cuaintas ag tarlú ribhe an COVID teachtas teach nach raibh.
Sin fuir mar ceap na sto go sé 3 bliain ó hin tháinig den ag an suas an smaoinmh seo na sé hagrachtaí seo a tacht le chéile agus is soca nóir mar nó agam míos le chéile agus nó bhíonn sa bailú airgé do muint na haireann ní bain ag obair an aigh chéile nó ag mórtas lena chéile. So sin an céad buntáiste le gobar lena chéile agus an dara agus an tríú cean tá sin rudí mar soca níos lú airgéid spend ar admin agus a bailúa an airgid agus tá an tríú cú se honimid le chéile mar ba ar goth níos ráide agus ba cuach níos ráide ar gcuin nuair támid ag obair sna tíortha seo ag scapaí PPE scapaí lais agus a scapaí bia agus éideachas go dtí na daoine bochta seo.
Dar fin gwyl sif an asásta faoin poibliachta a bhór sif san amán cumarsáide in éireann an teachan seo, well?
Bhí muid san Irish Times, Irish Examiner, an Independent, agus alán rudí, alán papar eile agus alán nuacht Irish fashion agus soca tá London ag haint faoi an Irish Emergency Alliance agus tá an soft fusion.
Bhí tú ag caint ar New York RT agus TG Cahar nach raibh? Ok, Fiona chun teachtadró ar an aglah an bhfuil léon flaanana sa bhreise goibh sa gcomhaontas don ámatá le teacht?
Well, soca tá sé seo an arcade project agus an chéad tá bain with le go bhfuil lena chéile achtlá stúla gin má tá mu dabalte do an airgid bhile agus má seo má bríonn an céad comhaontas seo tá a gur cínta níos mó projects a dhéanamh sa sa támatá le tacht freisin agus is soca bhfuil muid níosláidir le chéile tá ar goth níosláidir le chéile tá cuacht níos mó gin le chéile agus má hagan emergency ela agus is soca go mai a gcónaí rudí mar sin a hála sa down ach bhaimmuid a gobal lena chéile a ríis chun freigrachtaí an sin. Is féidir má tá internet eile gur ólas eile a fáil is féidir le go dtí an Irish Emergency Alliance website.